How's it going, everybody? It's early Monday morning. Let's go ahead and knock out Sunday and Monday study. So we're going to finish judgment. You have to see yesterday's study, but yeah, got to see yesterday's study. Hopefully, you're watching this from the playlist from the very beginning. It's Trey Stokes Daily Bible Studies. Click playlist instead of videos and start the Revelation playlist. All right. And shall go out. So this is Satan now being loosed for a little season, which is nothing more than judgment, also known as the Battle of Armageddon. So Satan is now loosed and he will go out. So all that were not sheep. So all that never got baptized by the Holy Spirit, all that died with the demonic spirits in them, celebrating Christmas, Easter, birthdays, believing in man's free will decision or whatever other religion they belong to. Not their fault. It's just we're all living in the Lord's movie. He shall go out to deceive the nations, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog. I believe this is Ezekiel 38. Gog and Magog in the Bible, Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 38, Gog and Magog is judgment. Let's see if anybody sells it like that. Yes, Ezekiel 38 describes the Gog and Magog conflict as the divine judgment against the nations invading Israel. It's exactly what it is. They're going to encompass the camp of the saints. It was just a parallel story, whether it did happen or not in the Old Testament, and then it's a parallel story, or whether it was in the Old Testament as simply telling you what judgment will be. I think I've read it. I think I've researched it decently, and it's ambiguous in that sense. Shall go out and see the nations that are four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog. I'm telling you, that's what Ezekiel 38 is about. It's about this right here, which is judgment. To gather them together to battle, the number of whom is of the sand of the sea. I have so many people going, well, Gog and Magog, that's Russia, and that's this. Goodness gracious alive. It blows my mind, all the false teachings that are out there on the earth. It really does. It blows me mind. And so who's being gathered together? Well, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. So you're going to have to talk about every demon and every goat, human goat that was ever born on the earth, and every demon that's ever been. That's why it's the number of the sand of the sea. I mean, is that literal? I don't know, but you know. And they went up on the breath. I like to call it the breatheth, but it's pronounced the breath of the earth, and encompassed the camp of the saints about the beloved city, just like we read in Ezekiel 38 just then. So they're surrounding the newly refurbished Israel, and Jesus is there with all of his sheep. Now, this parallels off to Luke. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth when you see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob standing in the kingdom, and you yourselves thrust out. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, Luke. Luke 13:28, King James Version, Bible Gateway. So this is also to give you an idea of what's going on. This is where and what that means. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth when ye shall see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and all the prophets in the kingdom, and you yourselves thrust out. This is judgment. So when they encompass the camp of the saints, all the human goats are witnessing judgment. Excuse me, they're witnessing Christ in his millennial kingdom, and they see their loved ones and they realize God did not love them, and they realize they are about to be judged. And they're standing there with no clothes on. It's a very sad situation. You have no idea. So sad that all the sheep that witnessed their friends and loved ones being judged, they need God to wipe away all the tears from their eyes. And then God then removes all memory from their minds about this life, including judgment, because there's no sadness or sorrow in the next heaven, in the final heaven, I should say. And you're like, well, I would hate to lose my, well, people with Alzheimer's and dementia already do lose their memory today while they're alive, just to give you a parallel of that. No, you don't get to walk around in heaven and remember the touchdown you scored, or when you lost your virginity, or when you were smoking weed, or being at a Rolling Stones concert. Nah, you don't walk around in heaven with, oh, this person didn't make it. Oh, that person didn't make it. Or this loved one, or that loved one, or this parent, or this child, or this friend, or this school teacher that I admired. No, this ain't happening. And that's why when we get into the next chapter, after God wipes away all the tears from our eyes in hope of, he says, behold, I make all things new again. And that's when you know you have no more memory of this life. When he makes all things new, he means all things are made new. And you're like, well, I want to keep all those memories. Well, you haven't been baptized by the Holy Spirit. If you say, I want to keep all those memories, you're still celebrating Christmas and believing in man's free will decision, too, aren't you? Yes, you are, aren't you? So then you want to have that pride. You want to keep these memories. Well, just to show you how fragile memories are and how they can be clean slated, wiped out, the Lord had Alzheimer's and dementia come into fold. So then you're able to understand it. There's people alive today that look at their loved ones and don't know who they are. So you're not going to know and remember anything about this life when you're with God in heaven. On the millennial kingdom, yes, but not in that final New Jerusalem, that new heaven after judgment. So they went up on the breadth of the earth, and they surrounded the saints of the beloved city, and they were standing there weeping and gnashing their teeth, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. That's judgment. They're just killed again. That's all it is. And I guarantee you, this death, way easier than the one we experience on earth 9 times out of 10. Dying of cancer, just whatever, unless you just died in your sleep or went instantly with a gunshot to the head or a car crash that just killed you instantly. Then this here, it's just judgment, people. It's just judgment. That's all it is. It's our God's final, yeah, it's just judgment. at the end of this earth existence. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. Now, notice we're about to get into judgment for the goats, and they're referred to as dead. Well, Satan, the beast, and the false prophet, they're not going to get the judgment in hell and the grave, or death and the grave, because fallen angels don't die. Hell is not eternal torment for humans. You can see the humans are dead again. The flame came down and devoured them. They're dead, just as asleep as they were after their first death. When you die, you're asleep. Rest in peace, you know. That's another story, another teaching. But the devil, the beast, and the false prophet, they get cast into the lake of fire and will be tormented day and night forever and ever. That's because the beast is that human, but the human host died off and Satan possessed the body. This is actually Satan and any of the demons that possessed these bodies. I think Satan bounces back and forth, moving in and out of each body, while other demons are keeping everything, all the bodies alive. I think Satan is the image that speaks. I think Satan is the false prophet, and I think Satan is the Antichrist, or the beast out of the sea. I think he bounces spiritually in and out of each body as to perform the upside down version of the trilogy. It's my own opinion. Let God be true and every man a liar. I'm not dogmatic about it. I'm just saying. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, whose face of the earth fled away. There was found no place for them. And I saw the dead. So when were they dead? When the flame came down and devoured them. They became dead again. But the dead, these dead bodies are now being judged. This is a ritual, the complete cleansing of the earth. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. But you do realize they're dead. And you're like, well, they're standing. Again, how much metaphoric, abstract speech have we gone over in this book of Revelation and proved that it was abstract? And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell. Remember, hell means the grave. Hell is where the souls go, unaware, for all the goats. It is the grave. It is Sheol. So death and the grave delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works. As they're being judged, you do realize they're dead. Okay. That's why the band calls themselves the Grateful Dead. They know that hell is not eternal torment. They're more than happy to just go through this judgment and be dead. They will never love the God of the Bible. That's what they're saying. They're grateful to be dead. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. And it does not say whether it will be tormented day and night forever and ever, does it? Nope. Because these are the humans. Continuing on in Colossians, we got 11 verses today. They're very short. They're very thin, aren't they? No more than 2 lines, maybe 3. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil, concupiscence, covetousness, which is idolatry, for which things' sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience. So all goats, of course, never get baptized by the Holy Spirit and called out of such sins. A list of sins is also in Galatians 5:19 through 21. In the which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in him. Yep, before you got baptized by the Holy Spirit, you were living as if you were a goat. That's why you can't tell who the lost sheep and the goats are today while they're walking around alive. How do you know who is who? But now, if you put off all these anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth, lie not to one another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, I don't even know what that word is, bond nor free, but Christ is all in all. So when it says lie not to one another, seeing that you have put off the old man with these deeds, it's saying you've been baptized by the Holy Spirit, you're new. We have put on this new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. When you're baptized by the Holy Spirit, remember, it says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chastens and scourges. He beats the world out of you. You slowly become a new creature. And each day, you're better and better. That's why that Bible verse, when we went through it in Revelation, and it said, mentioned works and charity and this and that, and then it re-mentioned works again at the end, and it says the last to be greater than the first. It's works of salvation gets better and better. And the last to be more than the first, Revelation 2:19. This is the ESV. I'd like to see it in the King James. They don't give it to you. Revelation 2:19, King James Version, Bible Gateway. I know thy works and charity and service and faith and patience and thy works. Notice works is mentioned twice. And then it goes on to say, and the last to be more than the first. That's because your works keep improving based off what we also just read there. Put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies and kindness and humbleness of mind, meekness and long-suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another, all sheep will, once they're baptized by the Holy Spirit. And if any man have a quarrel against thee, even as Christ forgave you, so also do the same to them. And above all these things, put on love, which is the bond of perfectness. And let peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. And all sheep are. I'm glad you're here. I love you very much. Ask questions anytime. That's what I'm here for.